Okay, here we are. Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the North Shore School District Board of Directors to order. It has been our custom to recite a flag salute at the start of each board meeting. This evening, Director Hayes has kindly offered to recite the pledge. If you are so inclined, please feel welcome to join in. Director Hayes.
Okay, hang on. I know, I think I can do this on my own. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done. Thank you. On behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome all members of the audience to this evening's meeting. This meeting is a working session of the board to conduct the business of the district. The agenda for today's meeting has been published, and the agenda items to be discussed and or voted on have been studied by the board members. An agenda for this meeting is also available online at boarddocs.com. I would like to introduce the people participating in this meeting. Recording Secretary Siobhan Frazier, Superintendent Dr. Michelle Reed, board members Amy Cast, David Kogan, and Sandy Hayes. I am Jacqueline McGurty, and I currently serve as Vice President of the board. President Swain was unable to attend and is excused for this evening. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Would anyone on the board like to make any changes to the agenda as it has been published?
No, Vice President McGorty. It looks great to me.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Excellent. Any further discussion on the agenda? Okay, then I call for a vote, please. There we go. We have approved the agenda unanimously. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Superintendent's Report. Dr. Reed.
Thank you, Vice President McGorty. It's great to be with you this evening. And what an exciting time to be in North Shore right now. We're having the opportunity to do our school plan visits, and each regional assistant superintendent, as well as Dr. Bigelow, and I have had a chance to visit and review our plans for the year, and we're almost done with our fall cycle. I think we've done 31 of our 35 schools so far and have 4 to go. So just a lot of hard work going on in the district, and I continue to be so inspired by our educators, students, and families. I also want to share that Friday I had my first school visit of the year, and I'll be getting into each classroom this year as I have in other years, although virtually. And our first school was the Wellington Elementary Wolverines, and I must say it was exciting, but in a weird way, exhausting to jump from room to room. I was glad I didn't wear my heels on Friday, yes, the highlight was Miss Cirillo's classroom, whereas I jumped in, they were doing math, and actually had a math problem involving Zeus, and his weight being, I believe, 17 times that of a squirrel. So I appreciate Miss Cirillo's group, and everything was going well till they decided to calculate my age in dog years. But anyhow, it was a fabulous visit. Also want to share that we recently had a visit to Kokanee Elementary with board members and had a chance to check in, if you will, on our Kodiaks. So just a lot of excitement going on. I want to share that Bothell High School had a drama program this past weekend, and Inglemore High School and Woodinville High School the prior weekend. So the arts are alive and well, particularly in theater in the last couple weekends, and have really enjoyed the opportunity to connect with our students in that way. Tomorrow, I am hosting a coffee with our Muslim moms, and we do that several times a year. with different affinity focus groups, and really looking forward to hosting a conversation tomorrow on how we in North Shore support our Muslim students and families. Want to remind folks that Wednesday we're taking a pause as it is a national holiday to honor our veterans. And we plan on the Wednesday morning North Shore Learns news feed to highlight some of our Veterans Day Assembly activities that have gone on in the schools and share some of those experiences with our community. We're so lucky to have so many veterans in our community and are so grateful for their service. So that's my report at this time, Vice President McGorty. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. Next up is Association and public comments, sorry. We have one public comment that has been submitted for this evening, if I can now find it.
Vice President McGorty, if I could clarify, I believe that it was categorized as association comment.
I apologize, you are correct. It is an association comment. But I still have to find it. Hang on a second. Too many windows. Okay, here we go. This comment is from Robin Zabak. Here it goes. She says, hello, my name is Robin Zabak. I am the president of North Shore Council PTSA, which works to support the 32 PTAs across the North Shore School District, as well as the children and youth of our community. It has been a while since we've had an opportunity to comment, but our PTAs have been continuing to work in powerful ways across North Shore, even as school buildings have remained closed, helping to build connection, provide resources and information, and serve school communities. At the end of October, Washington State PTA hosted its annual Legislative Assembly event, where PTA delegates from across the state, including many from North Shore, established our legislative priorities for the next biennium, including a new top 5. And those are: number 1, increase access to nursing, mental health, and social emotional learning staff. 2, support students and preserve education funding. 3, increasing educational equity by closing the digital divide. 4, supports and funding for students with disabilities and their families. 5, prevent and reduce gun violence and suicide. Also supported issues include equitable identification and services for highly capable students, mitigating the adverse impacts of climate change, safe school plans, and emergency preparedness. We are excited that many of these issues align with key aspects of your legislative priorities. We look forward to working together to advocate for changes to better serve students across the state and here in NSD. Finally, thank you for your support of our virtual Presidents and Principals workshop last week. It was wonderful to be able to partner with NSD's Racial and Educational Justice Department for a thoughtful and thought-provoking presentation. We are so grateful for the support of our NSD administrators and school board members, and we look forward to continued collaboration around ways to build more equitable and inclusive approaches to family engagement. Many thanks, Robin Zabak, President, North Shore Council PTSA. Okay, that was association and public comments for this evening. Next is adoption of the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. I'll second.
How about? Either way.
Close enough.
That's Siobhan likes.
Siobhan, you can put whichever one of us first and the other second. It's up to you.
Okay, is there any discussion of the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. And there we have unanimous adoption of the consent agenda. Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is action items. And we have just one tonight: acceptance of constructability review report for the NSD Concert Hall at Inglemoor High School. Dr. Reed, do you want to speak to this or?
Yes, thank you, Vice President McGorty. And Siobhan, if you wouldn't mind bringing that up, please, the summary memo. This is a standard acceptance, thank you, constructability review summary, which essentially the documents are attached for your review and available for public review. But this is required at any time when we're doing a major construction project, and the report contains design team responses to questions. So there are corrections and revisions, and actually we're very excited to report that we're able to access now our permitting from the city of Kenmore to move forward. So yeah, so this is the OSPI required document for the concert hall project, and I would recommend approval.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Reed. Do we have a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
No, it's great to just be getting these updates and see how the progress is rolling so quickly along. It's really exciting. I have to say, I might have done a little detour for an errand this weekend so I could drive by Inglemore because I wanted to catch a peek. It's exciting.
It's not a bad idea now.
Right?
Yeah.
I'd like to
Okay.
add also,
Go ahead.
Vice President McGurty, if I may, just an appreciation for Dree and her team. I know that the concert hall project at Inglemore has required a lot of engineering and design and issues to deal with, surface water runoff and the tennis courts and things like that. And I just think it's amazing that all that work has gone into this project, and we're at where we're at to get the building permit or the construction permit. It's fabulous. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I'd have to agree, this has just been phenomenal to watch the progress. Slow but steady, but absolutely. And so we're just about there. Anything else? Okay, if there's no further discussion, let's call for a vote. There it is. Excellent. We have a unanimous approval. Thank you. Okay, next item up on the agenda is performance reviews. We have the monitoring report for Superintendent Parameter 8 instructional programs. Dr. Reed?
Well, thank you, Vice President McGorty. And this, of course, is one of the core bodies of work that we do in the district, which is instruction. So Siobhan, if you could bring up the monitoring report, please. Thank you. And if we could scroll to my certification. Perfect. Thank you so much. So at this point, as of this evening, which is November 9th, 2020, I do believe that I have not, to use language consistent with PA8, failed to maintain an organization that ensures relevant and engaging learning that fosters creativity and imagination in the district's students, as well as opportunities for all students to achieve at levels defined by the district's goals. I must say, in my 40-year career, I never thought I'd be presenting a parameter on instructional programming in a pandemic with an entire district and potentially, you know, millions of young people around the world learning from home in a virtual setting. But I will say that a lot of the work that we've done for many years preparing for excellence in the classroom is a foundation for the work we're able to do now. We have staff working so very hard to provide coordinated, rigorous instruction and supports with the schedule that we have for this current school year. Siobhan, if you want to continue scrolling up, please. Thank you. One of the things we've spent a lot of time on is the English language arts, in addition to really moving our math curriculum pieces forward. The ELA curriculum, we had a dyslexia committee that spent quite a little bit of time over the last couple of years working on recommendations, and that's included in our work moving forward. We've also been researching some tools that we might use to improve our work on dyslexia while we're in a virtual setting. And I will be convening a small group of parents to view a program that Becky Anderson and I have had the opportunity to review. And we'd like a parent perspective on that as well. But we continue to work to provide supports for reading for our young people. And Siobhan, if you could keep going, please. The obstacles, continuing to eliminate obstacles to programs. We've worked really hard. I think the support for a 7-period day has been fabulous. It's really provided students an opportunity to take courses they might not otherwise have taken. The universal screening for highly capable programs, the support for career and college readiness programs, as well as the intentional use of PSAT data and our AP data, which I think you saw a number of attachments that have data moving forward. One of the things I'm really proud of is even though we've added a number of students in our AP courses, our pass rate in AP courses continues to rise. So I think we can be really proud of that. It's about getting more students to believe that they can do this work and removing barriers to accessing those courses. It's not that they're not capable of doing AP coursework. So we're also appropriately differentiating instruction to meet unique student needs and strengths. We've provided some different supports in North Shore Learns. I guess we're in 3.0 right now. I'm in the middle of planning 4.0. So, and again, the 2-year dyslexia study plays into, I think, our deliberations around early childhood education as the screeners are required in 2021. If you'll keep going, please, Siobhan. There's been a lot of work with the inclusive models and programs. The North region has received a grant in all of their schools to work on the inclusive practices work. Ruby Bridges opening as a state demonstration site for inclusive practices, as well as Kokanee Elementary as a state demonstration site in partnership with the University of Washington Herring Center is pretty exciting, I think, to have North Shore on the cutting edge of that work. We've made a commitment to that work in our strategic plan to provide equity and access, and our data in terms of students being able to be served in our general ed settings continues to improve. So we're very proud of that. The research-based innovation in programs, curriculum, and instruction. We've been innovating in spades. I think little did we know that we would have the opportunity to so deeply innovate. But there have been a number of tasks. Continuing through, Siobhan, please. We again have done a significant amount of curriculum work, and that's Obadiah Dunham's department with Nikki Arnold-Smith and Christy Clausen, with the addition now of Melissa Riley, adding that equitable pedagogy lens as well to all our curriculum work. Our programs of study and supports leading students to graduation continue to show some of the highest graduation rates in the state, I dare say the country. And even in COVID, we've found ways to get academic programming to students. So we're very pleased with that and kept students engaged. The equitable grading and assessment practices, we continue to work on that. And we continue to know that we have work to continue to do on that. There's a difference between formative and summative feedback, and we continue to support students and their families in making choices by hopefully using helpful feedback. And then keep going, please. The alternative structures for school calendars. Oh my goodness, we've done a significant amount, again, with our title monies, our LAP monies, and just continue. I know I have a question on world language competency. testing, and we're waiting for an answer, Director Hayes, back from the state on that, in terms of what we're able to do in this virtual setting with the online. And we're excited about the Mastery Transcript Consortium work. So I think there's a better way perhaps to demonstrate what we know and are able to do, in particular as it relates to our changing economy and business world. So continuing through, Zeus, you're just gonna have to wait. Sorry, that wasn't the report. Continuing through, again, more instructional programs, content, and then we have healthy start times. So this year, I have to say I am between the 8 and 4 o'clock. So technically have met this parameter, although we also are working on what this will look like when we're back in a school building. So we do have a plan, and we've ordered buses and so forth to be prepared for the fall of 2021. And hopefully the COVID situation won't continue to delay bus production, because that has been a significant delay in terms of trying to get buses here on time. And then instruction and programs with reasonable accessibility. Again, we're working very hard to support the online learning in a way that keeps our students and staff and the families they go home to healthy, as well as trying to keep our mental health supports in a positive ratio, because we know that's anxiety right now is really challenging across the board. And then talents and specialized fields. We did the North Shore Speaks last year. Again, the 9th grade rates continue to stay very high. And we're doing an iReady night with the iReady curriculum, I believe, here recently. And we have Dr. Wayne Au and Jesse Hagopian, who are working on the ethnic studies curriculum. We're piloting that this school year, and our hope is to have it as a full course next year, and by year 3, be able to include it as a possible graduation requirement as a semester course, given that we do have a 7-period day. So we have a significant amount of work going into building that course at this time. And I think that's it. So I'd be happy to take any questions or participate in any discussion about Parameter 8.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. Very, very nicely done. Do board members have any questions or discussion, comments they'd like to make?
I'll kick us off here. So thank you, Superintendent Reed, and actually the whole system. This is one of those reports where so many people throughout the entire district contribute to, and it's really helpful to have a report that obviously tried to touch all those areas, and a lot of evidence of compliance, I have to be honest. I mean, and before I go into that list of what popped out to me, what you started to say when you started to present your report about all this work being done during a pandemic, I actually would enjoy if you could just take a second to describe how much learning is going on. And I couldn't think of a good way to word that. I mean, the learning that is happening for our students during the pandemic, with all the shift that had to happen in terms of shifting everyone online, I think the paradigm shifted for so many people that it's perhaps it feels like such a new world. It's hard to imagine the learning. It's easy to focus on the devices. And so as you're starting, we're all starting to get back into our routines here. We're having our conversations with the board. You're doing your classroom drop-ins. I mean, learning in a pandemic is still significant learning, correct? I mean, would there be any other way to help people frame and really understand the depth of what's happened, of the learning?
Well, I think, every single staff member in the district, and we have 3,120, has had to change how they work.
Mhm.
And that's a monumental task. Every single almost 24,000 student has had to change how they learn. And that's huge, right? Overnight. So I think we all had to lean into behaviors that learners require to be successful.
Mhm.
Curiosity, time management, independence, interest, relevance, the importance of community and relationship. All of those have contributed, I think, to our ability to pivot to online learning.
Mhm.
And as we wrestle with content every year that's unique to the students in front of us, if we're teaching, not only are we wrestling with content and the unique needs of each learner in front of us, we're also learning technology. And for many of us, that in and of itself in any given year would be enough. So I think that's why you hear so many stories and read so often at just how exhausted people are. Wherever they're working, in whatever field, it's so different. It's requiring us to learn so much so fast and still maintain some sense of, I hate to use the word normalcy, but maybe that's it, that it is exhausting. But I still think we see the excitement in it, and thank goodness our kids, continue to be curious and independent learners, and they're learning things, honestly, Director Cast, that in many cases we might not have learned at all in a regular school. So I want us to continue to understand that while we're not able to do some things, we are able to do other things we might not have been able to do before. And my fervent hope and expectation is that when it's all over, this pandemic is squelched, that we can all, regardless of our perspective on it, get together and tell our stories and be alive and healthy and ready to move forward with excitement and about our future together.
That's a great description. Thank you very much, because I think it's really apparent through the report that there's obviously a strong expectation that the learning is still happening. And even though it's not always analogous, and there might be some things that we're still problem solving, that the expectation is the learning is still going on, that there's still access for anyone who wants it, that there's still the rigor our community expects, there's still differentiation when necessary, and then all the support. That it looks very different now, but the expectation is that we're is that we still are expecting that, and we're still adapting to it. And that's why the report is really amazing to me, in that, again, it covers the whole system, and it's obvious that people are just working so hard to keep that level of quality high. And a lot of the items that popped out, whether it be all the work on dyslexia, innovation lab, advancing and kind of bringing our curriculum up to where it should be in terms of equitable pedagogy and content, inclusive model. We could talk about any of these for hours, but they all touch on the fact that it's that great information and rigor combined with the differentiation and support and access. So I'll stop because I could talk about it forever, because I just think it's exciting, all the work going on, and just say thank you to everyone who's helping serve our students.
Yeah, thank you, Director Cast. Obadiah Dunham, our North Assistant Superintendent, put this together with help from his department, in cooperation with our Racial and Educational Justice Department, and Dr. Chris Bigelow and Ava Thomas and Rana Harb. So I know I know they appreciate your kind affirmation. And I also want to point out, as you've seen, we didn't pause doing school plans for the year.
Right.
We're still about staying connected to our strategic plan and moving forward, pandemic or no. So there is excellent work going on in teaching and learning right now.
And there's just one, thank you for that. And there's just one request I have is that with everything that's gone on, the work that's being done at Kokanee and Ruby Bridges around getting inclusive models and practices really going, it's something we just haven't had much time to dive into. I just would love to learn more about, how we're working with the University of Washington. I don't know if there would be time for a special presentation to the board, or, I mean, this to me is not only the right work, it's kind of cutting edge and a big shift for us. And so I just would love to have an opportunity to, if we have a study session, I don't know. I don't set the agenda, so I probably should shush, but I just wanted to put that request out there.
It is groundbreaking work, Director Cast, and to be named as a state demonstration site for 2 of our schools is really, I think, an honor, and it speaks volumes to the work going on in our special education department, as well as our general education staff and principals and teachers. It's just, there's a lot of hard work going on, and our paraeducator training is also supporting this. So I will take a look at our study session schedule and meet with President Swain and kind of see if we can identify a good location for that.
That would be great. Thanks a ton. And I'm done.
Next.
So maybe I can jump in. It's just, interesting just this month of November, just looking at the timing of so many of these things. We're looking at P8 today, and we have such a comprehensive report of all the work that's happening in the district to really try and achieve the goals of the community that were established in the strategic plan about 4 years ago. And here we are later today meeting with Mutu Fagabe again to talk about getting ready for the vision moving forward for the next 5 years. But we set these goals in place, the community did, and then we went about, with policy governance, reviewing this stuff regularly. We're looking at this again this month, and then we're also seeing school action plans that are being sent out to the board for review on Fridays. And you can see how these goals led to policy, that led to programs, that led to planning. And it's just really neat to see the system so focused and organized to make the goals become a reality. So I just wanted to comment, the plan, or the P8 report was very comprehensive. A lot of this work we've been working on for years, but there's a lot of new stuff in here as well. And I just wanted to comment on how well it's aligned with the actual work that the schools are focused on in the plans. So thanks to everyone.
Thank you.
I feel like I should explain why we're so giddy about this report tonight. All of us on the board, this is why we got into this work, was to be leaders around education and instruction, and to see such an amazing report in normal times would have just produced smiles on all our faces. But it speaks to both our strategic plan and our decision to move to policy governance, because 75% of the work was done during a pandemic. And that's phenomenal, right? And we didn't allow ourselves to get caught, and I mean the whole system, in the moment of the crisis and forget to be working on instruction. And so I'll just echo everything that Director Kogan and Director Cast have already said. Thank you to all of the staff, not just Obadiah Dunham and his department, but every one of our teachers and paraeducators that have gone into this amazing work and kept us moving forward in being education leaders for the state.
Yeah, thank you, Director Hayes. And I realized we need to amend this because we also have a fully enrolled Chinese language program in first grade at Sunrise, which we opened this fall. We had some questions. Can we open it in a pandemic? But we have, and we did, and it's a fabulous classroom, and we're planning to continue to grow that program in the coming years.
Fabulous. Thank you. I ditto to everything my colleagues have said, Dr. Reed. It's a wonderful report, very extensive, very detailed, and we so appreciate everything, all the effort that's gone into this, as well as the work that's reflected here by you and your staff. I particularly appreciate the consistent emphasis on equity for all of our students, and your amazing efforts to monitor all of this and report back to us on how things are going. The culturally responsive curriculum and the focus on progressing in that area, I think, is just I know I'm repeating things that everybody said, but just groundbreaking, everything that's going on, and in a pandemic. I mean, talk about the flexibility to consider alternatives to learning and school day. I mean, this is it. I don't know what else you could do other than this. So thank you very much for everything that's in here. I have a list of little things and comments that I will send you later that are just, you know me. So I'll send those, or perhaps bring up in our 2x2. Anybody else have any other comments or questions for Dr. Reed regarding Parameter 8?
I just had two quick. One, to thank you for looking into that world language competency testing, and I look forward to hearing the state letting us know how they will be able to administer those tests soon. I just, in that framework, we have not many, but a few students that come to us that they either have almost none, or their formal education has been interrupted for a period of time at the high school level. What curriculum, how does instruction look for a student that is arriving at our high schools and they have very little formal instruction in their history, and in addition they're trying to learn English?
It's a great question, and in many ways it's very similar to an IEP approach. Each student, depending on their unique circumstance, often has a unique team staffing their needs and trying to provide supports. Ironically, in this virtual time, we're also looking at different learning programs, and some of which are more translatable than others, and maybe more so even than in brick and mortar settings. But those are really solved on a student by student basis. And the Opening Doors re-engagement program from OSPI is one that I know Rick Farrell and his department in student services work on. And in terms of credit acquisition for students that come in older with gaps in high school. But I could provide you some more information on that. So let me do that. I want to clarify too that Assistant Director Nikki Arnold-Smith did the bulk of the writing for this parameter. And so big shout out of thank you to Nikki for collecting all the pieces of information and putting those together here.
Okay, Director Hayes, thank you. You just reminded me of something too. Just a quick comment, Dr. Reed. Another thing that I appreciate about certainly the report, but the work that's gone into this, is with respect to assessments and screening of the students for placement and taking advanced courses and so forth. The fact that the focus is always on screening to determine how we can expand a student's opportunities and how we can get them into more learning and more classes, as opposed to screening them out of those same opportunities, I think is just is fabulous. So thank you for all of that.
You bet.
Okay, anything else? Okay, do I hear a motion for how we will find Dr. Reed's performance on this parameter? I didn't call up to get the wording for it. Let's see.
Vice President McGurty, I'd like to make a motion that Superintendent Reed is in compliance with parameter 8.
I'll second the motion.
Excellent. In which case, I believe we'll call for a vote unless there's further discussion or comments. Okay, I call for the vote, please. There we go, unanimous. We find the Director Reed in compliance for parameter 8. Thank you very much. Okay, next up on our agenda is information items, and we have a project acceptance. Dr. Reed?
Thank you, Vice President McGorty. Siobhan, if you would bring up the memo on the project acceptance, please. I believe this is a portable, classroom portable. Thank you, Siobhan. So this is a classroom portable placement at West Hill Elementary, actually 2 portables that we added a year ago and completed because our enrollment was increasing at West Hill, and that's a partnership campus with Sorensen. So this is an information item really to indicate that the project has been completed, inspected, and just sharing with you as a board that it would be completed. Want to commend Dree Ralph, our capital projects director, and her team, along with Joe and Dugan, for making sure this project came in on time and on budget.
Excellent, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments?
I do, just kind of around forward thinking around growth. I am assuming, given that our enrollment has decreased very slightly through this, that when we're back in the classroom, that it is projected that we will continue to still need these portables at West Hill. That the need for these 2 extra portables will still continue when we're back in person?
That's correct.
Okay, and then these kids will eventually end up at Canyon Park, which means that we're going to see an increase in enrollment potentially at Canyon Park in a few years if they're showing up at West Hill, all of which putting a further burden on our middle schools, which are already, I think, all of them kind of at capacity, if you will. Is that okay? I just
Would be correct. Thank you,
Okay.
Director Hayes. Yes.
Yep. Okay, good. All right. Well, very good. Thank you.
Yes, in fact, I forwarded you a note from a family moving from the East Coast today that reached out to check in. So even though we're in a pandemic, we do have families moving in as families move out. So there's still movement, even though it's not quite as rapid as it previously was. We're scheduled or projected to maintain or continue to grow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion, questions? Okay, then the next item on our agenda is review of the Superintendent Parameter 8 instructional programs. Do we have any comments or discussion about this parameter?
We put a good amount of detail into this one. Like Director Hayes said, this one's kind of close to our heart. So there is a good amount of detail in that already.
Indeed.
I think it was almost one of the first ones. I think it was the first parameter we started with. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, my only comment is that it seems a timely review coming on the heels of Goal 5, since they have some correlations going on there. So this is good.
Not to pat ourselves on the back too much, but to have written this 3 years ago and for it to be so adaptable to our current situation. They're really quite amazing.
Yeah, so I'd like to thank you all for it. There is a great deal of very good detailing here.
And we also took a lot of great ideas from other school districts. So we borrowed a lot of great information.
Okay. Any other comments, suggestions, review of the parameter? All right. Next item on our agenda then is North Shore Innovates, North Shore Learns. Dr. Reed?
Thank you, Vice President McGorty. I want to clarify on the project completion. My text a friend, Dr. Joe Paperman, indicated that just wanted to remind me to share that even though we're talking 2 portables, they were 2 double portables. In other words, 4 classrooms. So just want to make sure I'm accurate, and thank you, Joe. Well, this afternoon I received an email from our data expert, our eyes on all things data table, Angie Hancock, and the email was titled EEK, and one of the, in part because we're looking at Snohomish County's virus rates, the number per 100,000, and they jumped from 124.9 last week to 187.7 today. And I don't think they've ever been that high since the pandemic began, actually. So we really have our work cut out for us to take this virus down. And the numbers are clearly going in the wrong direction for us to continue moving forward on the staged dial that we've set up. So we're continuing to stay paused at this time. And we're continuing to work on ways to provide better supports in the classroom. We're coming upon the end of the first quarter, and staff are working with students around progress made and progress yet to be made. We're looking at creative ways to support students and families. This is hard. It's hard for students at home and families, and staff who have families and staff who don't have families at home. So we continue to meet with our association representatives twice a week to problem solve issues as they come up. And we looked at a really interesting data chart last week, and then again this morning at Cabinet, called the 9 phases of studenting, kind of from not attending to being very successful in all those unique behaviors, and just trying to move students a little bit each as we can move. So there's still a lot of work going on, I think, around supporting students and learning and connecting and getting assignments done and that type of thing. Continuing to look at our schedule and what makes sense for some families. I know I met with our parent focus group. I continue to meet with them, and I said I kind of feel like Goldilocks sometimes. Like sometimes there's too much structure, and then other times people feel not enough structure, right? Too much screen time, not enough screen time. So we're trying to find that sweet spot for every student and family, and it's challenging. But anyhow, appreciate the hard work that's going on out there and the grit of our students and our families. I know I've heard from a number of students. This morning, I received a note from the Catamount reporter at Bothell High School that had some critical questions requiring answering about our reopening plans. I had a 6th grader email about concerns around not being able to initiate Zoom conversations with classmates that are separate from classes. So students are really advocating for themselves, and I really appreciate that. So I think we've eliminated teachers being locked out of their classrooms. We've built in some safe systems for that. We did have some students, ask for that support and staff as well. So we're working our way through issues. We're remembering patience and not perfection. And just every week we learn something new that we put into practice. So any questions or comments or wonders, be happy to discuss.
Just one thing that occurred to me as I was listening and reading through some of the input from the community was somewhat reassuring, I think, almost in that so much of the input from parents was their kids really need a lot more homework, more work to do. And the input from the kids was, oh, they've got way too much homework. So it seems about right.
I think we had that input prior to the pandemic as well.
Exactly. Exactly. Hey, anyone else? Comments, questions? Okay, next up is any new business. Anybody have anything new to add?
Well, first of all, Vice President McGurty, you are rocking this. So if you are nervous, you don't appear it at all. Done a nice job.
You can only see my face.
Make sure you get credit. I believe you actually have a new business item that I think this would be a good time to ask how to do it.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say you have a new business item?
Yes, you, Vice President.
I do.
Yes.
Are we referring to the flag salute?
No, we're referring to
No.
the recognition of the lands that we're on.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I thought it would be a good thing. And since many of the Zoom and or other meetings that I've been attending for quite some time now, incorporate an acknowledgement of native lands at the beginning of the meeting to thank our Native Americans and the keepers of the land for so long. And I thought that would be a useful thing, a good thing for us to incorporate into the beginning of our board meetings as well. So I thought that I'd put that out there as something for us to consider.
No, I think that's a great idea. I think it came up when we were doing our equity review. And so,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
I think we were pretty supportive for sure. I think we might need help.
Yes, to identify which
Mhm.
tribes and which lands we are on in the North Shore School District. Certainly, I would need some help.
Yeah, I think asking Dr. Bigelow, I think they had some good suggestions of the exact wording of how to do
excellent.
that respectfully. And then, yeah, we'll have to adjust the lands based on whether it's from our house or from the district. And I think it should continue even when we're back
Yes,
in person.
I agree.
Great idea.
And I'll add, I think it's an appropriate addition, and I'd be excited to see it incorporated in our next meeting.
I do know
Perfect.
Dr. Bigelow is working with our local tribes to craft such a statement that I'll review in our 2x2s prior to the next meeting. And
Excellent.
so that project is well on its way.
Should have known.
That's
Thank
cool.
you.
What else do
Thank
you want, Vice President McGurty, that we can have already being worked on?
I'll come up with something. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Any other new business? No? Okay, then the last item on the agenda here is board member reports. And we had a list. I know I had a list. There it is. Director Hayes, you're up first.
Of course, I'm not ready. I did not prepare adequately ahead of time. I have actually spent quite a bit of last week prepping for annual conference. Director Cast and I had to have a session that we taped, and we each did several others. So you can look for us when you're virtually attending annual conference. We've got a couple of them that you can go to. So a lot of pre-taping of those to have them ready for viewing. And then attended, actually, well, let's see. I also had the opportunity to moderate last week a session with the House Education Committee and was able to sort of with school board members from around the state. So kind of moderated that conversation of requests and concerns in the upcoming session. They did ask that we keep it policy related rather than on money. So we did mention the broadband and the transportation concerns, but to our earlier conversation did really have a very robust and positive conversation around students learning, and that there are things that many things that our students are learning. They're not part of the testing world. And so how will we make sure that we are acknowledging and recognizing what our students have gained through this past year? And then just got to attend the Kokanee elementary school visit, which was so exciting to get to do that along with Vice President McGurty. That was my first virtual one, and it just felt so normal. And just to see, again, to see kids learning, kids excited. We got to visit or view a video of a class, and the energy of the second graders as they were learning their math was just too delightful. And really a big shout out to both Joel and Isis for the work that they're doing. It's really was great fun to go and see, and reassuring that life is continuing, right? That the good things are still happening. And then thank you to the PTA for a great principal and president's luncheon last Thursday.
Okay, thank you, Director Hayes. Next up is Director Kogan.
Thank you, Vice President McGurty. I too thoroughly enjoyed the Presidents and Principals luncheon. Excellent presentation by Ava Thomas and the Educational and Educational Justice Department. And then also I had the opportunity to view 4 of the 5 Baltimore High School Drama Fest productions over the weekend. I'll watch that 5th one. But a fabulous job to all the students for coming together and finding ways to put together great acting remotely and splicing that all together with technology to make some really compelling and entertaining Drama Fest videos. So congrats to all the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kogan. Director Cast.
Thanks, Vice President McGurty. Just as of this morning, wrapped up the last of the legislator visits. So we did 3 more since our last meeting. All went great. Senator Fox even asked for a follow-up meeting last week, whereby he invited several King County Public Health employees to really get into the nitty-gritty of how to support testing in schools, which it was a surprise, but it was a great surprise. So it's great to have legislators that really listen to us and listen to our concerns and roll up their sleeves right away. Also appreciated the Presidents and Principals PTA lunch. That was wonderful. And continue to enjoy the statewide, all the different various ways to continue to network and work with our peers as we keep moving through this year. So yeah, that'll do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Cast. Okay, I have much, I think I'm freezing here. Hopefully I'm still coming through. Much the same thing that everyone has already commented on, attending the weekly WASDA networking calls on Thursdays. On October 29th, I also attended the WASDA conference with our Education Committee legislators with Director Hayes, and so skillfully moderated by Director Hayes. On Tuesday, November 3rd, otherwise very quiet, normal day, I attended our Kokanee SIP visit, and just again, as Director Hayes was mentioning, just so inspired. Joel and Isis, when I get to finally meet Isis, who's just wonderful, but I was so inspired by their approach and the lofty goals that they have for the year. It was all just really well done. As Director Hayes said, to be able to see the kids in a classroom again, I was so looking forward to that, to being able to do that again this year. It's the first one I was able to do so far. Then let's see, Thursday, November 5th, I was also a guest at the PTSA President and Principals luncheon workshop. And again, just so wonderful to see everyone and again, witness the collaboration juices flowing between the principals and the PTA representatives. It was just wonderful to see again. So that's me. So unless we have anything else from anyone, that is the end of our agenda. And we will be back at 5:30. We have about a half an hour for our study session. Dr. Reed?
Yeah, actually Mutu is standing by. So if we can
Oh.
maybe start in 10 minutes-ish. I know he was standing by shortly after 5 o'clock.
Sure, I can do that. Okay, back at 5:13, 5:15, something like that.
Vice President McGurty, I am having an aha moment that we will have our next board meeting after annual conference. And so I
Yes.
just want to confirm, is there I don't know how the pre-conference, the boot camp, the if we're going to have 3 people attending those, and if we're all attending different sessions, does that count?
We discussed this in one of the WASDA networking calls, and I'm thinking because it's the annual conference, the OPMA isn't quite the same.
Well, I
But
think,
having said that, I won't be at the boot camp.
okay, you're not there on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So maybe what
Okay.
might be the best bet is would board members maybe want to email Siobhan what they're planning to, even if it's not exact
Yeah.
sessions, but like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which of those days?
Yeah.
And then if we have to publish,
Yeah.
I would guess Thursday and Friday we probably have to publish. And then
Yeah.
that might give us an idea too, if we want to schedule some of the days go pretty late at night. I was thinking we'd be able to chat maybe at the end of a day, but some of the sessions start at 7 p.m. So it's hard to figure out when we might be able to chat, but.
Another thought too is maybe just publish, it is a state board meeting attended by all 5 board members. Will be at different sessions. There's a chance that 5 of us may be on the same Zoom presentation. And I think to the extent that it's open to the public, I don't know. So I don't really know. You know what I mean? If we publish it as a meeting, that it really matters because it's remote. Nobody's going to actually be physically meeting individually, or you know what I mean?
This is something though that we can also confirm with Tim Garcha and the WASDA staff on Thursday of this week at our networking call. I know that it came up in the past, and it may be on the website as well. So I will commit to checking on that, and then can communicate with Dr. Reed and or Siobhan to make sure that it gets out.
I think also OPMA in general, I don't know that I've seen the new current guidance as of last Thursday. It only ran through November 9th, which is today. So I think what everybody was waiting for was, will there be an opportunity to do a boards night out or not? So until we see the new OPMA rules, those will help guide how we post the conference attendance.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Okay. TBD maybe.
TBD, we will update as we can.
TBD on the
OSPI.
I think that's a good place to call this. So do we want to reconvene at 5:15? Is that enough time?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I will call this meeting adjourned, and we will see you at 5:15.
Sounds great.
Thank you.